Good evening, everybody. Today is Monday, March 24th, 2025. It is 5:30 and we're calling the Personnel Commission meeting to order. Starting with agenda item number 1. Introduction of new Personnel Commissioner Linda Allen.
Right, and so we wanted to welcome Linda Allen, our newest commissioner to the Personnel Commission. Linda and I did meet a little over a month ago. And I provided Linda with a sort of an orientation and sent her away with a flash drive with all the resource documents and I kind of talked her through all of those to get her grounded and able to kind of just see a little bit about how things happen here in Gilroy and answered a lot of questions. And so she's raring to go. So welcome to the commission. If there's anything you want to say, you're welcome to have a minute.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind, I'm nosy.
Oh, that's okay. So, I am a retiree in San Mateo Community College District, who lost their mind and decided to take on another job. I am a counselor with CWCRT, with Foster City and San Mateo Police Department. So I do crisis work. I worked with the union for years. CSCA serving as first chair, second chair, and so I have a lot of knowledge around bargaining and union issues.
Right.
And I'm excited to be here.
And you live in Gilroy?
I live in
Well,
Gilroy,
obviously.
right down the street.
Awesome.
Great. Well, welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Okay, item 1.3 roll call.
Okay, taking roll for this evening, Commissioner Linda Allen,
Present.
Commissioner Catherine Cummins.
Here.
Commissioner Nita Eddie Mitchell.
Here.
And Commissioner Marissa Haro.
Here. Item 1.4, report on posting the agenda.
The agenda was posted on Friday, March 21st at 8:05 a.m.
Item number 2, communications by members of the public for items not on the agenda. Public comment by members of the public on items not on the agenda, but within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Personnel Commission. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the commission on matters not on the agenda. The law does not permit commission action or extended discussion of any item not on the agenda except under special circumstances. If commission action is requested, the commission may place the matter on a future agenda. Are there any public comments?
Seeing none.
Okay, thank you. Item number 3, approval of minutes.
So the minutes from your special meeting of January 28th, 2025 are included in the packet. Please let me know if you see anything that needs to be corrected. Otherwise, they are ready for your approval.
The only discrepancy is that our minutes are the 28th, but the agenda says the 27th.
Those should be it should be the 28th.
Okay,
We met on Tuesday, the 28th. So make that correction. So the minutes are correct.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from January 28th special meeting.
I wasn't here, so I don't
I
know.
will second.
Okay.
All in favor?
But you can vote on it.
Okay.
You read the minutes and
Yeah,
you feel
okay.
that they're reflective, and even that you weren't there, you're still allowed to vote on the minute
Okay.
if you want to, or you can abstain.
I'll abstain this time.
All in favor?
I,
Opposed?
and then one abstain.
Okay, item number 4, Human Resources Director's report.
Well, I took the advice of Commissioner Cummins and prepared some items for you guys tonight to update you on some things. After the last meeting, there was something that I shared, and Commissioner Cummins said, "Why didn't that would be perfect to tell us?" And she was right. I should be telling you these things. So I have a series of different things that I thought would be of interest to you. So there's the first thing I wanted to share with you is actually something very sad. That we lost one of our employees earlier this month, Saeed Vaziri. He passed away unexpectedly, and he was our senior environmental engineer, and he worked out at our wastewater treatment plant facility. And so his funeral services were this past Saturday, and they were lovely. They were very nice, and we miss him very much already, and we're really sad about this loss. But he was a great member of our team, and just very hardworking, so proud of the work done out at the wastewater treatment plant. And a lot of that was because of his efforts. Those will be difficult shoes to fill, but just more importantly, what a nice person and a kind man. And we will miss him. So I just wanted to let you guys know about that. The second thing I wanted to inform you of is we have been working with other agencies in our area, Morgan Hill, Hollister, Marina, and Salinas, to be specific. And we hosted, and we are hosting Lead Worker Supervisor Academy. And this is a 3 full-day training session series that trains employees on key skills and qualities and mainly skills and technical information, so they can take on lead worker duties. I'm getting ready to be a supervisor. What does that mean? I'm going to be a supervisor. And there was a need for this training here, but Regional Governmental Services typically only provides online training. And the feedback I was getting was, I don't want to stare at the computer screen for this training for 8 hours, 3 different times, or even 3 or 4 hours, a bunch of different times. So I reached out to my counterparts at other agencies around us to see who else might have that same need that we had. And Morgan Hill, Hollister, Marina, and Salinas all said, yes, we want to join in. Let's figure out how to make this happen. And so we figured it out, and we're hosting here in Gilroy, and other folks are just having to come here, which is not too far for those agencies that are around us. The third full day session is this Thursday, so they will complete their academy this Thursday. And then Mr. John Dowdy and I were talking about possibly coordinating again, but there's an analyst boot camp that they offer, and we are bringing on some new analysts in the agency. And so we may see if there's a common interest in hosting the analyst boot camp and making that in-person training available for employees. They just get so much more out of it when they're here and they're focused and they're meeting and networking with other folks that are going through the same kinds of things they're going through in their agencies. And so it's been very positively received, and so I just wanted to let you know that was happening. The next item on my list is our training grant program. We have a training grant program that we put out to our employees, and their applications are due this Friday. And it's an opportunity for employees to submit requests for training when there's not funding identified within their department budget. But the training that they want to go to would help them with their current job or the next job they wish to hold with the city. And so I'm getting several grant applications. Again, they're due this Friday, and then we'll evaluate those requests, and the money that was set aside in the budget will allocate out for that training. So that's a fun program. It's a positive program, and a lot of people take advantage of it. And so it's great that we're able to offer that. Next on the list is, and we just implemented a pilot program with a new employee evaluation form for our exempt employees. So we started with our exempt employees first. We formed a labor management committee, and we developed and implemented a new eval form, streamlined, easier to use. And like I said, we rolled it out as a pilot program, and we're going to check in at 6 months to see if there's any issues before we say, okay, this is what we're going to use going forward. So the managers were really excited about that. They all provided great input, and the executive team was supportive, and our city administrator was supportive of moving that forward. Next on the list is that we're starting labor negotiations with our Gilroy Police Officers Association and our Gilroy Management Association for new MOUs for the period beginning July 1, 2025. And so the commission doesn't get involved in that particular process, but I just wanted to let you know it was happening. And as part of that process, I hope to begin the process of reviewing updates to the HR rules and regulations. And then the last item I wanted to inform you guys of is an Assembly Bill 2561. And this is a new Assembly bill that local government agencies need to follow, and this requires public agencies to present the status of their vacancies in a public hearing before the governing body at least once per fiscal year. The presentation must be made prior to the adoption of the final budget for the fiscal year. And the report should also address the recruitment and retention efforts that are being made by the public agency. And we can also use this time to identify any changes to policies, procedures, or recruitment activities that are having any kind of a negative impact on the entity's efforts to reduce its vacancies. And then if your vacancies exceed 20% of the total number of authorized full-time positions in a particular bargaining unit, then the public agency has to include additional information in its presentation if requested. And that's the number of agencies within the unit, number of job vacancies within the unit, total number of applicants for vacant positions within the unit, average number of days to complete the hiring process from when the position is posted, and opportunities to improve compensation and other working conditions. And at the end of January, I prepared a preliminary vacancy report to just see how we lined up to this. And none of our bargaining units had a vacancy rate above 20%. So that section won't apply to us. And then due to some newly created manager positions, the management group actually ended up with the highest vacancy rate because we have brand new positions that we hadn't filled yet. The average rate was 10.7%, and if you exclude the newly created positions, the rate was 8.6%. But we continue to make filling vacant positions a top priority in our office. I mean, my whole team is all hands on deck. Everybody's working on recruitments. But we'll be updating this information as we go through our budget process, and we'll be incorporating the requirements of AB 2561 into the budget process. So I just wanted to let you guys know about that because we review the recruitment and vacancy recruitment report that you see. And that report relates right to this effort. So these are the things I wanted to share with you. Thank you, Commissioner Cummins, for nudging me.
Well, it just,
you.
you have the opportunity. I thought it was a good.
Any
time to do it.
questions from the commission? No? Okay, agenda item number 5, informational items, starting with 5.1, recruitment and employment status.
So segue right into our recruitment and employment status report. So this is a report that we provide to you whenever we meet. So you can see what's happening with our recruitment and employment efforts. And so I know that in some other agencies, they don't necessarily have personnel commissions. So this kind of information might not be shared on a regular basis like it is here. But the first page of the report is the recruitments that we have posted right now or are about getting ready to post. We have some internships that we're getting ready to post, a management assistant position. We're going to be reposting the city clerk position, the council services records election manager, as well as our fire division chief. And then we are going to utilize the services of a search firm to help us with our utility business manager and our utility ops manager. And unfortunately, with the passing of the employee I talked about earlier, we may be adding that utilities position into that proposal as well, just so they can focus on outreach to those in the utilities industry. Page 2 of the report, the top portion is recruitments that we have underway right now where we have things happening other than just posting the position. So where we might have candidates in background checks scheduled for interviews, in final pre-hire steps, getting a conditional offer or a final offer, etc. So those are all listed out there. And 2 that I'll just call your attention to because they're just a little bit more visible is our fire chief position. We have a candidate in background check for that position. So we're hoping to bring that across the finish line soon. And then our police chief recruitment is underway. And we're going to be meeting with our search firm recruiter later this week. And we have interviews planned for April 16th. So those are exciting top level positions. The one error that I have on this report is the council services records election manager, where it says scheduling second round interviews. That row should have come off the report. Sorry about that. That was last time. And I didn't delete that because we ended up not selecting somebody from that pool. And then we're going to be putting that recruitment back up. And then you can see on there the firefighter trainee licensed paramedic. We had 3 new hires start work today. The Then at the bottom section of page 2 are our hires or promotions or reclassifications that happened since your last meeting. You can see that we promoted Lamont Tony to police captain position. Daniel Pineda promoted to police sergeant. Sandra Nava, as you approved at your last meeting, was reclassified to the Housing and Community Services Coordinator. And John Dowdy started as our Public Works Director, and then Diana Casey was promoted to Police Sergeant as well. And then going on to the second page, we have some separations that occurred during this period. We had a few retirements. So happy to answer any questions that you have. Just an information report.
Just out of curiosity, and you know, just thinking about this, for folks who are either getting promotions or reclassifications, maybe a little note of how long they've been with the city. You know, just look at retention.
Mhm.
2 years, 3 years.
Everyone on this list has been here a lot longer than that. So they're longer term employees. I think Sandra Nava's got to be 18, 19, 20,
Nice.
somewhere there. Lamont Tony, 20, 20 ish. Daniel, I don't know off the top of my head, and Diana, but longer term employees. And we do when we hire new full-time employees or employees get promoted, we do have them get introduced at our city council meeting. So we do give some recognition to them when that happens. And then the police and fire departments have some ceremonies that they do. They like ceremonies.
Their pinning ceremony.
Any other questions? Okay, item 5.2, community workshop series, visioning the Gilroy Civic Center master.
So wanted to make sure you are all aware of what's happening, but we are going through a process of visioning our Gilroy Civic Center master plan, which is this whole kind of quad area around the city hall facility. And we're going through getting a lot of community input about what that could be, what it could, you know, what's the potential for it? How might we reimagine this civic center area? And so there's some different community workshops that are happening. The next one is Tuesday, April 8th, looking at different alternative concepts and visioning. And then it progresses to May 20th, you know, kind of trying to focus in on a preferred concept. So these are all over at Wheeler Community Center, which is diagonal to here at 270 West 6th Street, and all are welcome. And there's some really great visioning boards. You kind of almost take like a tour, kind of from start to finish around the gym. And it kind of, you can read information about the project and different ideas and concepts and different things. And the company that we're using to help us with this process has their staff there, and they're answering questions, and there's a lot of interaction and engagement. And so we're encouraging everybody to attend and to provide their feedback and input, because, you know, wherever this lands, we want it to be fabulous. And then in 2026, the plan is to try to see if the community is supportive of it, such that we would approve bonds to make it happen. So this building is quite aged. Our facilities team does a great job taking care of it, but there are aspects of this building that have outlived their useful life. And I think that the thing that really, you know, hit me square in the eyes was when the price tag to replace the HVAC system was $8 million. And it was like, wow, you know, $8 million to remove the old HVAC system and put in a new HVAC system here. So we're continuing with our pipe cleaners and duct tape because 8 million was just too much money. And we'd rather put that 8 million to something new, and modern and environmental, and that meets more needs of the community. And so that's we're headed down this path to see if we can make that happen. So the library is a newer building. the police department is 2007, so it's not, we can't call it new anymore, but that's one of our newer buildings. This is a great opportunity to possibly, put something new in place that meets the needs of all of our groups within the community, our seniors, our youth, our teens. Maybe some sort of aquatics or swimming facility incorporated within it. It would, something that would be something available for everyone in the community. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if this takes off and if there's support for it. It's not inexpensive. We've looked at some other places where they've been designing and building these things. We went and toured a new aquatic center in Mountain View, which is beautiful. And we also looked at a new community center going in Redwood City. And so that one was 85. Well, it was around, they said it was 85% constructed, but there was still a lot to finish. But they allowed us to put on hard hats and do a tour, and it was really amazing. That one includes a theater, pickleball court, a half basketball court, lots of meeting rooms for seniors. A big senior area, that a lot of different rooms that can be used for classes and arts and crafts and just so many different things. And it's kind of adjacent to a park, so there's a lot of connecting uses, and so it's very well done, very well done. So it helped us to see ideas, right? And you see what's possible somewhere else.
Thank you. Any questions?
So try to attend if you can.
All right. Any questions? No? Okay. Item 5.3, informational report on senior civil engineer recruitment efforts.
Yeah, so this is a follow-up report from the last meeting. Susanna is here again, and she was here at the last meeting and asked about this. And so at the commission's request, I went back and did a lot of research and looked at all the different things that we have done, just to share that with you. So you have benefit of what, sort of the processes that we've been through. So the position of senior civil engineer for the capital improvement program has been vacant since April of 22. Although we did at one point have one of our internal employees filling the position in an out of class assignment from July of 23 through December of 23. And the employee opted to end the out of class assignment in December of 23 and did not want to move forward with the position at that time. We also hired a new project manager who began work in September of 24. And technically this underfilled the vacant senior civil engineer position, but then staff later asked the city council to add a new position of project manager to the engineering division rather than underfill the senior civil. We wanted to keep both positions, and that got approved on July 29th of 2024. During the period, we had some turnover in the department. The public works director position turned over, city engineer position turned over. Those positions are now filled. And so although efforts to work on the senior civil engineer position continued, we didn't have the department head or the division head to assist us with that. And I think that also contributed, because when those positions are vacant, it's harder. If people do research on the department and see that those positions are vacant, they're like, oh, well, let's wait and see who gets those jobs before I apply for that job. Because they want to see that there's some stability and that there's key positions filled in the department. I know I would be looking at that if I was applying for that position. So we think that had some impact. So overall, there is a shortage of licensed civil engineers applying for government jobs in our region and probably nationwide as well. But definitely when I talk to my counterparts at other agencies, they're facing the same challenge to fill these kinds of positions. The applicant pools are kind of small, and then we're all kind of competing for the same group of applicants. And the applicant pool has increased though when we post at the engineer 1 level. Because that position doesn't require the professional engineering license. So once you add on more technical requirements like a professional engineering license, the applicant pool narrows. And we see that with almost all of our very highly technical positions in the city when they have some of those technical requirements because of the nature of the work that they're performing, the applicant pool does narrow for those positions. So currently, engineer one positions are all filled, and when we do allow our engineer ones to upgrade to an engineer two once they gain work experience and attain their professional engineering license. So we could end up with a team in our engineering division of all twos. We do what's called flex staffing of the that position for purposes of budgeting. So we could have all engineer twos in the department if everybody were to attain those goals. And we know that a couple members on our team are preparing themselves to take the professional engineering exam. So as for the senior civil engineer position for CIP in the engineering division, we've done several rounds of interviews. It was posted in August of 22. We had 4 applicants apply. 2 were identified to move forward. 1 withdrew prior to the interviews, and 1 was interviewed but determined not to be a match for the position following the first round panel interview process. Then in July, position was posted again, and after discussions with the public works director, a new project manager position was also developed because in that public works director's experience at other agencies, he had successfully hired project managers who could manage CIP projects without having a professional engineering license. And given the limited pool of engineers, the director wanted to create this new classification to see if we could fill it at either the senior civil engineer level or the project manager level. So we brought that to the Personnel Commission, and you all saw that job description and approved that. And we had that posted, and we had 7 candidates apply. 4 attended the first round interviews. 1 project manager was selected to move to the department interview phase, but then later withdrew. And a second candidate was invited to the department interview phase and was selected to move forward. We conducted the background check, issued a conditional job offer, and then the candidate later advised that he had accepted another offer. So sometimes the candidates that are looking at us are also in other processes with other agencies, and we don't necessarily know that. And so we're trying to move through all the steps as quickly as we can to try to avoid that situation, but sometimes we do get that situation. And then position was posted again in May of 24. We had 10 candidates apply. 3 candidates moved on to the first round interviews. 2 of the 3 candidates moved to the department interview process. 1 candidate was selected to move forward to fill a project manager position, and this person was hired and is working for us now. The position was then, continued to be posted or reposted in August of 24. 4 candidates applied. 2 candidates were invited to the first round and second round interviews. Unfortunately, the department did not feel that either candidate had the background and experience and fit for the CIP position, so the position was not filled. So then lastly, it was decided to repost the position at the engineer 2 level to see if that would net some qualified candidates that had the professional engineering license and who could then develop into the senior role. Position was posted in January 2025. 7 candidates have applied, but none meet the requirements of the position. It does require the professional engineering license and 4 years of experience at an engineer 1 or similar level. We're continuing this effort, but we are going to expand the recruitment and put it back out at the engineer 2 level and the senior level to see if that we have John Dowdy here, who's, sort of a fresh face in the organization, has a lot of experience in the public works industry. Between John being on the team and Daniel Padilla, our city engineer, they both have networks of people that they interact with. And with those 2 positions filled, we're hoping that they will be able to, market and promote the position so that we get some different applicants for the position. And then just to recap, we did add the new project manager position. It was a position that the council added to the team during the mid-cycle budget process. So we initially our strategy was to underfill the senior civil engineer position with the project manager. But given the workload and some of our larger projects that we have in the queue, it was later recommended to the council that we actually add the project manager position as opposed to, underfilling. And so the council supported that because we have the Sharks Ice project, we have the Civic Center master planning project and some other things that are happening in the organization. And so that person began work with us in September of 24 and hit the ground running, taking on various project management duties in the engineering division. And then we also did another recruitment for senior civil engineer for the utilities department. As you know, we created the new utilities department, and we're working to staff that up. That was posted in the May-June 2024 timeframe. And the position was filled in August of 2024. So we were able to fill that senior civil engineer position. As for just some salary range information, as a part of this position is a senior civil engineer position is in the Gilroy Management Association. And during those labor negotiations in 2019, a comprehensive salary study was completed that included the senior civil engineer position. And at that time in 2019, the position was 2.3 below market average. Generally speaking, if we see a position that's plus or minus 5% of market average, we say it's in market, because we're never going to be exact. But as a result of the study implementation that was negotiated with GMA, we actually ended up increasing the senior civil engineer 6.5% at the start of fiscal year 20, and then it got another 3% adjustment in fiscal year 21. And then in our most recent negotiations with GMA, which is the contract that's going to be ending this June, there was a 5% salary increase applied to all positions in 22, 23, and 24. And then in addition, the top of the GMA ranges were increased by 3% in 2023 for those that have 5 or more years of service. They can get into that last 3%. So from fiscal year 20 to 24, the senior civil engineer range has increased by 24.5%, which is substantial, plus the additional 3% after completing 5 years of service. So we've been doing our best to try to keep the salaries competitive as best we can. We have 12 agencies that we tend to survey and look at when we do these comprehensive surveys. And so at the time, by adjusting the 6.5% in fiscal year 20, it kind of brought it actually a little bit ahead of the average. So going forward, like I said, our new public works director began work on March 3rd. Our new city engineer started in September, and they're both working to outreach the vacant position. We're refreshing the recruitments in our applicant tracking portal, neogov.governmentjobs.com, and then all the different professional organizations will repost our positions. Then we're also starting labor negotiations with the Gilroy Management Association. So we'll see where that process leads us and if any salary adjustments are put in place for the classifications within that particular bargaining unit. If there is, then that, may be a positive, that will, be positive and help us with our outreach and our recruitment and our retention. So with the public works director position being filled, city engineer, project manager, we now have a more solid leadership and management team in the engineering division, and they're in a better place to provide support and guidance to the engineering team. That was one of the things that Susanna raised, which is very legitimate. When those positions are not filled, it's difficult for the staff because there's a lack of leadership and direction for the team. We also hired a new environmental programs manager that works in the engineering division. And there's a wide variety of different environmental compliance requirements and initiatives that are a part of the department's work plan. And they were getting more and more expansive. So we needed to hire our own dedicated staff. We had paid for services from the city of Morgan Hill. And now we're phasing that out. And we have our own dedicated staff member. We're still getting some help from Morgan Hill, but we'll see what happens in this particular budget process. That manager began work in September 24. So that's another addition to the management team in the engineering division. And by him focusing on those environmental compliance items, that means that work doesn't land on other managers' plates, that they can focus on other things and he can focus on that. So there's been a lot happening, as you can see, a lot of moving parts and a lot happening, but just wanted to provide you with that informational report.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the commission?
I have a question. When doing the application process for something that's more technical, do you have a subject matter expert review applications to determine who qualifies?
Yes.
Okay.
So there's a screening and a review that's done in human resources. And then either the city engineer or the public works director or both of them will come over and look at the applications that we're recommending move forward.
Including the ones that HR didn't approve?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Because usually it's minimum qualifications. They don't have a PE license. So it
Right.
makes it, you know,
Right.
if that's a hard requirement for the position, then that's an easy.
And so this
Assessment.
next round, you were saying that you were gonna post for both senior and engineer two. And have you done that already?
At different times,
But not simultaneously?
not simultaneously.
So you could, so technically, with the way you guys have it set up, you could post it at all three levels, see what lists you could get. And
When
then,
you say three levels.
well, because there's engineer one, right?
Right, but the department wants a licensed engineer,
Right. But I'm just saying, like,
but we could.
you could post it at
But we
all
could.
three, you could hire at any level, and then they could move up.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, and then my last question, sorry, to have
No,
it's okay.
questions, is, at what point, right, because it's been 3 years now. At what point would you, or is it an option even to consider if you just needed to go out and get a contract? Is that an option?
That, you know, that would be up to the Public Works Director to determine, and that's certainly something that they have done in the past. We have different engineering firms like CSG and other firms that we can bring in on a project basis. But we have to farm out project. We can't farm out staff work because they don't fit the role of an independent contractor. But if we can break off certain projects and pieces of the workload, then we can utilize the services of an engineering firm, which the division has done from time to time.
Licenses, first of all, licensed engineer is, I think, critically important in this one. So the engineer, I would not advocate going to an engineer one level on this one. I struggle even with the engineer two. I mean, optimally, we would love to hire at senior engineer level, but it's a hedge. And if there is an excellent engineer two and we're not getting anything at the senior, we have to consider that option. Contracting is not much of an option, frankly. Again, project by project basis, we have a need. The project, we can hire a project manager. My experience is that's extremely difficult these days as well. Been looking for project managers for public works projects over and over and over. There seems to be more retired annuitants around this area than we were able to find in my prior work. So maybe, you know, for that, there is that, but it really needs to be an internal person that will look at all.
We need an
options.
employee.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, these are all things we've talked about and all options that we've evaluated and considered. And we have the workload that needs to be accomplished. And we're trying to figure out, you know, different ways to be able to get there. So I'm putting my cards on the new public works director and city engineer to be able to, you know, use their
No
network.
pressure.
No
Yeah.
pressure to find good candidates, but, you know, John and I have already been talking, you know, he experienced the same challenge at his prior agency that he came from, where it's hard to find good candidates to fill these positions, and so continuing to work through that process.
Any other questions?
And you can take public comment if you want to.
Public comment?
Yeah. It's an informational item, but you can take public comment.
The only comment that I have is that, you know, his job has gone out to recruitment maybe like 5 times and nothing really has changed on the job description and the salary range. So maybe, just looking at that might be something that can be changed or updated to make this a more desirable, you know, to possibly get somebody to fill this position. That's all.
Thank you. Agenda item number 6, unfinished business. It doesn't look like we have anything.
None in that area.
Okay. So agenda item number 7, new business. 7.1, selection of chair and vice chair for 2025.
So it's that time of year and we were waiting to fill the vacancy on the commission before completing this task. But we do need to select our chair and vice chair for 2025. This happens once per year. And currently Commissioner Haro is the chair and Commissioner Cummins is the vice chair. Any commissioner can be selected for any of these positions. We do have sort of a historical rotation that has been followed on this commission, where the vice chair moves into the chair role as long as that person's willing to serve. And then one of the other commissioners who was not recently the chair is typically selected to fill the vice chair position. So if our rotation system was followed, Commissioner Cummins would move to the role of chair and Commissioner Eddie Mitchell would become the vice chair. Again, anyone can serve in the role. But we recommend that we stick to the rotation system with Commissioner Cummins and Commissioner Eddie Mitchell, as long as they're both willing to serve. Happy to answer any questions.
I am not opposed. I will do whatever the commission wants me to do. I'm okay not serving in that capacity too. Somebody else too. So whatever we all decide is okay.
Commissioner Eddie Mitchell, do you have any comments?
No, I mean, she's great at it. She's done it before and.
No, serving as vice chair.
Oh, no.
Because it
no
would be your
problem,
rotation.
No
Okay.
problem.
And then.
No, that works.
I don't think that works for me. So do
We
you
usually
have-
let you get the lay of the land.
Yeah.
first before we,
Before
snap
jump
you
out
in with
on
the other responsibilities, right?
So are there any public comments on this item? Comments from the commission? No? Okay. So then Leanne, do we vote on?
Usual, you can start with someone making a motion to appoint someone to be the chair.
Okay, so I will make a motion to appoint Catherine Cummins to chair for 2025 for the Personnel Commission.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And then a motion for vice chair.
Okay, I will make a motion to appoint Commissioner Rita Eddie Mitchell to the position of vice chair for 2025 for the Personnel Commission. A second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Excellent. Thank you all for being willing
Practice
to
my reading
serve.
now. Marissa.
Okay, so agenda item 7.2, Personnel Commission Work Plan for fiscal years 2026 and 2027.
Great, thank you. So every commission in the city is asked to put together a recommended work plan that is then shared back with the city council that shares with the council the things that the commission will work on during the next 2-year budget window. And this is part of our budget process, is to have work plans. Each department in the city also has a work plan. And so following that work plan, we had the fiscal year 24 and 25 work plan is noted within the staff report. And the main things that this commission is charged with based on the city charter is review new and updated job descriptions, review new and updated salary rates, review recruitment and employment status report, conduct appeal hearings as needed, complete required training, and review updates to HR rules and regulations. And so because this is a particular commission that is outlined in the city charter, it has certain responsibilities as laid out in the charter. So we recommend continuing the current work plan for fiscal year 26 and 27. And I added the language from the charter so you could see what's there. And I'm happy to answer any questions and take any input.
Thing I guess maybe it's, I don't know if it's a budget request or part of the work plan, but it may be good to review. Like the hearing process,
So that's in the budget process, the
Okay.
next item.
Okay.
Okay.
then I have no other investments.
Any questions from the commission?
Do you need to vote on that or?
Yeah, so questions, public comment, and then vote.
Okay.
Yeah.
Public comment?
I'll make a motion to approve the work plan for 2026, 2027 as outlined.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, and then moving on to budget requests as the next item, is, what resources are needed in order to fulfill this work plan. So we, do a 2-year budget cycle, that begins in July 1 of each year and ends in June 30th of the following year. So for our current fiscal year is July 1, 24, and it will end on June 30th, 25. We're in our second year of our 2-year budget. So we're working on preparing our budget requests that are going to council, right now. And we have meetings coming up, where every department's, budget request is reviewed and scrutinized, before it ever even makes it to the public process. Lots of questions being asked right now and lots of information being provided. And so one of the things that Joe Sangha, our finance director, shared at our last council meeting, he provided a financial update to the council and gave a report on our general fund. And based on the information that we have right now, we're seeing a decline in our sales tax revenue, from what we anticipated it to be. So unfortunately, right now, based on the information that we have, and just looking if we carried our existing budget forward, in fiscal year 26, we have a $1.7 million structural deficit. That means our expenditures in that year exceed our revenue by $1.7 million. So that means we have to either find additional revenue and figure out how we're going to get it that quickly, or we have to reduce our expenditures, for fiscal year 26 and 27. So staff's in the process of looking at options right now, making sure that our revenue projections are as accurate as possible. We want to be realistic. We don't want to be overly conservative, but we want to be realistic, and make sure that we know, as best as possible based on the information we have, what our revenue is going to be, so we can align our expenditures accordingly. So that's going on right now as part of our budget process. That always makes it a little bit
What do
challenging.
they think the reason for that?
Just
decrease
the economy, and just people curbing spending, because
I know the outlets are
Mhm.
at a downhill slope.
downhill. And so a lot of the brick and mortar stores are seeing a downturn in sales, and we're a city that historically has been very dependent on sales tax. But one of the other interesting things that Harjo pointed out in his financial report is that for the first time, I think almost ever, our property tax revenue actually exceeds our sales tax revenue. So the scale tips between those two categories. And so, our property tax dollars have increased, but because of the dramatic change in our sales tax revenue, we're seeing that overall, reduced revenue. So we have to adjust to that. That's just, something that happens, and it requires us to make those kinds of adjustments. So anyway, we're going through that budget process right now. There's a lot more to be scrutinized and scrubbed as we're going through that process. That's happening as we speak. Our goal is to have council adopt a budget in June for the July period. That's what we need to do. We can't move forward without an adopted budget, so we
I
have to
don't
have that
remember
in
what
June.
we requested last year. Do you have that on the top of your head?
I don't have that off the top of my head. I don't think you made a specific budget request, because I had already included the items within the HR budget that I was already carrying forward.
Okay.
So, as noted in the report, as part of the HR department's normal budget request, approximately $3,000 is earmarked each year for personnel commission training. And we typically rotate that around depending on, what we've had most recently. So as Commissioner Cummins is talking about, we brought in a trainer to go through the hearing procedures process. If you were faced with needing to run a hearing, whether it was a grievance appeal hearing or a discipline appeal hearing, because it's a infrequently used skill, and information that you're exposed to, which is a good thing.
Thanks to you.
We need to refresh on that periodically so that you are ready should there be a situation. So the goal is keeping you all in a readiness position so that if that happens, it can go forward and you're all not panicking, like, oh, I'm unfamiliar with this. We want you to be comfortable and familiar. And if we did have a hearing, I do budget separately in the legal budget for counsel to be assigned to the commission. So if it was a significant hearing, you've got your own advisor to make sure that you do everything absolutely correctly. So that, because that could bring liability back to the city. So, because you're acting as a city body, so you need to have that advisor to guide you through that process. So those things are part of my normal budget allocation that I include. And I don't have any reason to believe that those would be cut out of the budget. So we have trained in the past on hearing procedures. We've trained on costs and compensation. We've trained on updates to the HR rules and regulations. And then we also include within the HR department's budget, our agency membership in the Liebert Cassidy Whitmore Public Employment Law Firm Training Consortium classes. And I tend to share those materials with the commission, and a lot of the workbooks and materials have great information to keep you guys aware of things in the public sector employment law realm. So those that will continue, and those will be available to you, because those are core trainings that our supervisors and managers need to attend. And a lot of times there's relevant information for the commission as well, and I'll pass those on. So anything sort of beyond that would need to be proposed by the commission. So if there was something you wanted beyond what I'm already including within my budget, then this would be the time for the commission to discuss that. And then I would work with the chair to put together a memo that would be sent back to the city administrator in response to the city administrator's letter. And then that would be considered as part of the budget process. And I attached the letter from Jimmy asking for all the commissions to provide that input. So happy to answer any questions. That's kind of where we are with the budget process. So it's,
So have we ever spent more than 3,000 a year?
mm-mm,
Yeah, so.
no. And we've usually done the training as part of the meeting.
Yep.
So that
Yeah.
again saves on travel
Nice.
costs or other expenditures. So we either Zoom the trainer in up on the screen, or the
Guess we're
trainer,
not
the
gonna
trainer will,
retreat.
the trainer will come to the meeting. I'll bring you snacks, Nita. if we
I'm
have
just
training.
kidding.
Any public comment on this item? Okay.
So is there anything that the commission feels that you need beyond what's already included in the budget? Is there anything that you're feeling you're lacking?
The only one I wanted was the refresher on the
Yeah,
hearing
that's
procedures.
the only,
Yeah.
you know.
I'm surprised
worry
you didn't make that a
have.
condition of your acceptance of the chair.
Why do
role,
you
but-
think I? I like to be prepared.
I know. Okay, so that I'll make sure that's our focus this year.
Do we need to vote on this?
Yes, that I guess the consensus is I guess the vote would be the consensus of the commission is to continue with what's included in the HR budget, and that there's not an additional budget request beyond that you feel you need to make. So if somebody wants to make that motion.
I'll make a motion to continue with the existing HR budget and not pursue any additional budget requests for FY 26, FY 27.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Item number 8, future personnel commission business.
So I've got a couple of still things on the to-do list that we're working on, and, we prioritize and reprioritize our list every day. I think it seems like, but we have a few things that we're just tracking to make sure that we bring them across the finish line. So that's 8.1, 8.2, and 8.3. So we're working on all of those, and once they're ready for the commission, we'll put them on the commission's agenda.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission? Okay, well, if no questions, then I will call this meeting to an end at 6:24 PM.
Thank you. Turn off the recording.
So you know, Leon's really good at